Okay, I wanted to do journal entry number 9 here, and I had a lot of people that were absent. So this one is on independent and dependent clauses. Okay, and I wanted to start out with a couple of quick notes. So first one is clauses are parts of a sentence. And for the most part, you can think of them as phrases, even though technically there's a little difference. You can have a phrase within a clause. Clauses tend to be uh, a bigger part than a phrase, but we'll see some examples here. But for the most part, you can think of them as the same. They're almost interchangeable. All right, two is an independent clause can be a complete sentence by itself. That's one way you can tell if something is independent. If you take that little piece of a sentence and you read it, and it could be its own sentence and makes perfect sense, it's an independent clause. If it doesn't make sense by itself, if it needs something else, then it's dependent. Okay, number 3. I like this pen. Number 3 is every sentence has an independent clause. Here I'm starting to abbreviate independent and dependent. Okay, so every sentence has an independent clause. And the fourth one, we're going to break down the sentence itself. There are two parts to a sentence. One is the subject, which is the main noun. Remember, a noun is a person, a place, or a thing. And the second one is called a predicate. When you hear predicate, just think verb. And it's actually the main verb phrase. So it begins with a verb usually, but can include a little bit more than just the verb. Main verb phrase. Okay, so if we take a look, the Alamo is a famous historical site in San Antonio. This sentence, um, this one is a single clause, and it does have more than one phrase. The phrase here, in San Antonio, anything that says where, when, or with whom something happens is a prepositional phrase, but it's a single clause. So clauses are a little bigger than phrases. So a clause can have a phrase inside of it. So because we know we have a clause here, and we're going to assume since it's the only clause in the sentence that it's an independent clause, otherwise it wouldn't be a sentence. Okay, so we know that it's going to have a subject, which is the main verb, and a predicate, which is the main verb phrase. So to find the subject, it's really what or whom the sentence is about. And if you have trouble figuring that out, because you might have multiple nouns, like here you have Alamo and San Antonio. If you have trouble figuring out, find the verb and then ask yourself, okay, who is doing the verb or who does the verb apply to? And in this case, not the best sentence because we have a very weak verb. You might remember your English teachers not really loving this type of verb that is. There are be verbs and linking verbs, and then there are like action verbs. We like action verbs because they actually have action things happening. Is one of those be verbs that is just very weak. So it is a verb, and then for our verb phrase, the Alamo is, it's going to include the verb and the thing that it is. which is famous historical sites, and we'll stop right there. We're going to circle that, circle our predicate. So that's the verb, is, and then a famous historical site is part of the verb phrase. We don't include in San Antonio because that's a separate little phrase that describes where something is, and those are prepositional phrases. So what is a famous historical site? The Alamo. So that gives us our subject. So sometimes you'll be able to go right straight in and pick out the subject, pick out the verb. If you have trouble with the subject, if you didn't know whether it was Alamo or San Antonio, one way to figure it out is find the verb and then figure out what applies to the verb. The Alamo is. Okay, here we go. San Antonio hosts a vibrant annual fiesta. This one's easy. We have San Antonio. And then what did San Antonio do? Host. What did they host? Because that's going to be part of the verb phrase. Okay, again, we have only one phrase, one clause. So that one's going to be independent. I'll put an I above the sentence. Okay, although it is known for the river walk, San Antonio has many other attractions. This one gets tricky. We can tell, and usually when we have multiple clauses, they are going to be broken by commas. But although it is known for the river walk, it's a very natural pause there. San Antonio has many other attractions. Here we have two clauses. One of these is going to be independent. The other one is going to be dependent. So which one of these makes sense by itself? Although it is known for the Riverwalk, or San Antonio has many other attractions. Only one of those could be a sentence all by itself, and it's going to be the second one. Because the first one, although it is known for the Riverwalk, doesn't make sense by itself. It feels like it needs something else because of the word although. So San Antonio has many other attractions. Attractions is your independent clause. Although it is known for the Riverwalk is dependent because it depends on other information to make sense. We know that the subject and predicate are going to be on the independent side. So San Antonio is our subject. Okay, what's the verb? Has. It's another one of these bad verbs. Many other attractions is what they have, so that's part of the phrase. All right. When you visit San Antonio, you can explore the historic missions. Again, we have two clauses. When you visit San Antonio, you can explore the historic missions. Which one of these makes sense by itself? When you visit San Antonio, doesn't make sense because you're waiting for the rest. What about when I visit San Antonio? This one does, though. You can explore the historic missions. That's our independent. This one is our dependent. And let's do it. Let's find the verb first. Explore is actually an action verb, something you can do. Can is actually a verb too. So our verb would be can explore. What are we exploring? We can include that as part of the verb phrase. Okay, and then who can explore? You can, so you is our subject. San Antonio's population has grown rapidly in recent years. This one, is it San Antonio or is it population? What has grown rapidly in recent years? Here we have our verb is has grown. Rapidly tells us how it has grown. That modifies the verb, and it's a little hint. It's an ly word. Most ly ending words are adverbs. So rapidly is an adverb. So how has it grown rapidly? We can include that as part of the predicate. It's part of the verb phrase. In recent years tells us when it happened, so that's another prepositional phrase. So we can leave that off. What has grown rapidly? Yeah, San Antonio has, but specifically the population. So population here is the subject. The word San Antonio just tells us which population, which city. So that is, you remember this, an adjective. So adjectives describe nouns, give more information about a noun. Adverbs describe verbs, give more information about verbs. Write that in there. Okay. This one only has one clause, so we know it's independent. San Antonio Spurs play their home games at the AT&T Center. All right, Spurs, what do? They play their home games at the AT&T Center. Prepositional phrase. San Antonio is an adjective, modifies Spurs. Let's go quick here. San Antonio is the second most populous city in Texas and it attracts millions of tourists each year. So San Antonio is the most second. Here we have two clauses, so let's figure it out. And it attracts millions of tourists each year. Now, which one of these can stand by itself? San Antonio is the second most populous city in Texas. That one can. This one, and it attracts millions of tourists each year. Because of the word and, we know that technically this is not an independent clause. And we'll get into, they're using a comma and a coordinating conjunction here. Remember the fanboys? They're using this combination here to connect two independent clauses together. So it attracts millions of tourists each year is an independent clause. San Antonio is the second most populous city in Texas is an independent clause. You can't connect them with a comma because a comma is not strong enough to hold two independent clauses together, but you can add a comma and a fanboy to make it connect. The other way to do this, instead of using the comma coordinating conjunction, is just use a semicolon. So you could say San Antonio is the second most populous city in Texas, semicolon, it attracts millions of tourists each year. And we'll get into sentence combining later. But for now, this is technically our independent clause. So we'll say San Antonio is the second most populous city. The verb phrase, the predicate. And Texas is a prepositional phrase. Now, if we wanted to, we could, over here, we would have it. What does it do? It attracts millions of tourists. Each year says when it happens. So again, that's technically a prepositional phrase. So that wouldn't be part of a predicate necessarily. Okay, because San Antonio has a rich cultural heritage, many people visit the city. Many people visit the city. This is an independent clause. Makes sense by itself. Because San Antonio has a rich cultural heritage, the word because throws it off. So this one is dependent. So let's find what is the subject, what is the verb? People, what do? They visit. What do they visit? The city. Which of the following sentences contains both a dependent and an independent clause? Well, just glancing at these, you can tell only one of these has both types. Only one of these has more than one. It has grown significantly is independent, because remember, it is a pronoun. It just stands for the city in this case. So if you were to read it, the city has grown significantly, it makes perfect sense. So that's your independent. Since the city was founded in 1718, the word since throws it off. So what is the it? Is the subject. What has it done? It has grown significantly. If you walk along the Riverwalk, you'll see many restaurants and shops. If you walk along the Riverwalk, the dependent doesn't make sense by itself. What will you do? You will see, it's your verb. What do you see? Many restaurants and shops. There you go. Hopefully all that was on camera. Didn't notice, but I may have been off. Let me, okay, there you go. I'm going to end it here so it's not too long. And there is a online quizzes quiz, which now I think is called Wayward. And I'll put that link in Schoology for you. Do that. Thank you.